Welcome, everyone. I am Enrique Acosta Gonzales, and I am joined by Ashkan Tashvir. And in this episode, we will be speaking about human connection with digital tools. And Ashkan, I'm very interested in this since we're living in the digital age and all the things that I've seen, but we're going to dive into it.
Sure, yeah. Hello, Enrique, and hello, everyone. So, this topic is actually very close to my heart. As a person who is interested in philosophy and developed thought, a person who happens to be a technologist background. I have background in particularly software development, and we actively develop technologies and digital tools. So, I hope that I can bring a kind of a unique perspective from my end and make it relatable to our audience with your help. Um, how about we create a context in the beginning of the conversation and then let it flow? Sure. So when we say technology or digital tools, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, Enrique?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is having this instrument that will facilitate us doing much more than we can as a human
Mhm.
and advance us down a good positive road in terms of how we get things done.
In the age that we're living in, there's a massive emphasis on science, the epistemological pathway that we can examine various different fragments of reality, and particularly through methodical ways and as objective as possible, so that we can develop congruent conceptions of different parts of this reality, particularly the material reality through empirical evidences and testing and experiments and identifying the repeated patterns. Now, when it comes to technology, we often refer to technology as the application of science or scientific discovery in a practical sense. So that's how science and technology are quite linked and related. Now, but if we go a little bit back and see, like looking into the etymology of the word technology, so we need to go back to the time of Aristotle. And so Aristotle, as the Greek philosopher who influenced many things that basically today we think of, including empirical evidences gathering and what is known as scientific way of thinking, was quite influential in that. And so he categorized knowledge into three different categories, one being called episteme. Episteme has to do with the knowledge that basically you can acquire through theoretical knowledge. And then he talks about the phronesis, or the knowledge or the wisdom of virtue, yeah, or ethics theory, you can talk about. And then the third one is what he calls techne or techne, which is in the word technology, which you can translate it to something like applied knowledge. Yeah. So technology was supposed to, from the beginning, serve human beings in bringing the in applying scientific knowledge. Yeah. Now, in today's world, we develop technologies to, as you said, to facilitate certain things that we do. We can save time. We can make something easier, less troublesome, and basically the idea behind the development of technologies was to make our life easier by getting the technology or the tools working for us. But when it comes to reality as it unfolds, it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly serving that, because sometimes our creations can have a kind of influence over us that it can actually limit our autonomy and influence. Yeah, and that's why lots of people are now quite concerned with regards to AI. There's lots of negative conversations going on, not necessarily about AI, but also previous generations of technologies. For example, like there's this kind of a reaction that some experts and then people around screen times, like we're spending so much time in front of the screen, or there's all this conversation that, oh, like we're being addicted to our phones and things like that. So what's your understanding of that, Enrique?
Well, there is an element that even I have experienced needing to set some boundaries
Mm,
around the use of technology uh, to limit addictive behavior because it's
yeah,
true. Some of the elements of, let's say, social media, they use the red icon as soon as you get something come in and they notify you, right? And so our instinct immediately is to notice that it's red and then it's something that we need to see.
mm,
And so there are some things that we can do to still enjoy the technology without going in a pattern where now we are being limited, as you said, by the constraints around those things and being notified, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So see, now let's just stay there a little bit, because see, while as we said, like there's all this conversation, oh, we're getting addicted to our phones and everything, and that in part is true, because we can get addicted to almost anything, particularly if that thing is so many things. Yeah, so technology is not one thing. Like a mobile phone is not just one thing, it's multiplicity of things in one thing. Yeah, you can access many different universes in through your mobile phone. Yeah, so when we say mobile phone, it's not just one thing. Now, while that is in part true, the thing is, in the old times we had to carry so many different tools or technological tools. For example, we needed to carry a compass. We needed to carry paper-based newspaper. We needed to carry yellow pages. We needed to carry so many different things, and it wouldn't. If you look at the person interacting with all these different tools, you wouldn't read it as if like this person is addicted to one thing, because they were using multiple different tools. Yeah, um, but then now almost all of them are encapsulated in this very small, like 6-inch screen or smaller than that. And and as an observer, when we look at it, we go, oh, like this person is just like making the phone a part of their body. It's just like it's constantly they are on their phone. The thing is, no, we're constantly engaging with different functionalities that life demands us, and now many of those functionalities are embedded into this very little thing, which is like there's a glory associated with that. Like it's fascinating. So there, I just wanted to demystify that side of it, so that like we don't keep blame technology. um, and that's just the nature of it, that like so many different functionalities that have been put into one single device, and like we access it. We want to do search, like many times we search things, the questions that comes up for us, immediately we go to our phone. We want to entertain ourselves or play some games on the go. We do that. We read news on the phone. We interact with our beloved ones on the phone. And so basically, so many different things that we used to do using different tools, now we're doing it through this tool. So it's not just in our analysis and judgment to judge the smartphones, let's say, quite harshly. Now that doesn't mean that as we said, that it cannot be addictive like they can. But that's not the problem of the technology. It's as you said, like you put some limitations or boundaries for yourself. It's the matter of self-control. It's a matter of what I refer to it in the Being book as ontological responsiveness, or simply responsiveness. um, have you developed that ethical framework for yourself, or value structure, so that and then that self-control and discipline, that you are in charge, you are the one who is leading. um, you have access to data, you know how you can limit your use of alcohol, you can limit your use of like sugary um, and starch, starchy carbohydrate, like all of these things. They can be delicacies, but if you have too much of it, and you ignore the scientific facts, or um, what's good for a human being, what's not good for a human being, and what's good for you as an individual and what's not good. So if you don't have clarity around that, and if you don't have that self-control and discipline, then you are in trouble. Even the best of the best, they can create problems. Now, so as a topic is like our relationship or connection as human beings with digital tools and technology. So just try to create the context, say what technology is and what was the purpose of us developing technologies, and in today's world, um, when certain technologies like smartphones, and now for example what is known as AI, artificial intelligence, particularly like some aspects of it, machine learning, algorithmic learning, and so on, they're actually there to serve, but they may not serve us, and they do opposite if we are not in charge. And that's the biggest concern. So by the nature of them, they can harm us. But if you don't have the right frameworks and structure around how to use them, if you don't develop them from multiple different sides, then we're in trouble. Now, this includes like the policymakers actually educate themselves and work with experts in the field, not only the experts in technology, but also experts in humanities and on social sciences, and looking into it from psychological perspectives and sociological perspective and axiological perspective, like the value structures, what is to be known as value. So if there is no collaboration or very little collaboration amongst these various different um, um, fields, because this is in with no doubt it's not just about technology, this is interdisciplinary um, conversation we should be having. Yeah, so it's about human consciousness, it's about like technological tools and advanced technology, it's about policy making, it's about ethical conversations, like all of these things needs to come together, so that then we develop our relationship collectively with these different technologies. But so in this short period of time that we have here, we're not going to go and then discuss all of that. I think we created the context by now. Let's now focus on okay. So as an individual, and particularly as a leader, yeah. So let's create this conversation. How you can relate to technology, and then how you can leverage um, the power of technology without letting yourself and your team and your organization succumb to the dark side, um, or an unhealthy side, to our relationship with technology and digital tools. What do you have to say there?
Well, I mean, technology in and of itself is a thing, right? It's been
Mhm.
created most of the time for our benefit and good use of it to facilitate our success. But
Mm,
if you either are afraid of technology, because that's one thing that I've seen some leaders voice opinion against technologies because they don't understand it completely.
mm,
And even with some understanding, if they may feel it doesn't fit the company or the group well, until they'll say, "Oh, we'll use what we've been using." One
mm,
of the things that I always caution leaders is that when you're in a position of leadership, you have to be open minded enough to be
mm,
curious of how technology can help
mm.
versus just shutting it down. But if it's anything that I've seen leaders struggle with is having faith and having some type of open mindedness towards technology.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And see, like some of the people that are listening to us may see that, oh, come on, like who is resisting technologies, and some others they so can resonate with the idea of resisting new technologies. Like I for some time in my career, I worked with the law firms and legal systems a lot, the top law firms, like I used to work with, providing practice management software, complex case management software to them. And there's tremendous amount of resistance when it was coming to technology, and like their concern was quite valid on certain level. For example, like when the cloud was coming, and like they were so resisting not to store or back up their clients' confidential information on the cloud, and all of that. And still, like you would see, like you go to this very um, how can I say, like high quality buildings, and they're quite rich, like in that industry, obviously, and they had the financial means, and they had all these massive archive rooms, having all these paper based files. And so I could see the concern, and there are certain ethical uh, concerns around how to, for example, store things on cloud, or now with the use of AI. And so it's definitely are there, but then yeah, so there is tremendous amount of resistance here and there against technology. The thing is, when it comes to organizations, so now for us to narrow the scope a little bit down and then make it a bit more concrete and tangible. So particularly when it comes to organizations or SMEs, um, what I often tell them, now around particularly AI, because see, we can not talk about AI in today's world. Whenever we talk about technology, the latest hot topic around technology to the masses, definitely is one of them is AI. And um, so when like what I often tell these leaders, these SME leaders or organizations, is like it can be that like AI directly is not going to fully impact your business. Depends on the field that they are operating in, but the competitor, other players in your field that are empowering themselves and equipping AI related tools definitely will. So the thing is, in this fast paced environment, you cannot ignore using the latest technologies. Again, depends on your field, but in some fields, it's more demanding, and then in certain fields, not. So embracing technology, trying to understand it, and working with the right experts so that they can support organizations how to go through this um, transformation phase, and incorporating more and relevant digital tools is extremely important. Yeah. So still, like in 20 for I mean in 2024, we see there are a good number of SMEs, particularly out there, that they don't have proper integrated systems. Like now, I'm not necessarily talking about ERPs, enterprise resource planning, like that's more suitable for corporations and large organizations. It's almost impossible for SMEs to even have the budgetary funds for such systems. But then you see that even in order for them to take care of and organize certain simple um, um, needs that they have, they resist massively to put some sort of systems in place so that it facilitates communications and remove um, um, time consuming part of the communications. Yeah. So yeah. So basically, so what is your thing thought around embracing pieces of technology for them to survive and then grow?
Yeah, I think it's incumbent on leaders to
Mm,
always explore the potential that technology can afford them.
yeah.
To not do that is almost failing your corporation, because
Mm,
there are technologies that are ideal for different situations. And if you do not explore the possibility behind technology, what you're doing is you're saying no to the future, right? And
yeah.
when you say no to the future, you say no to the future. And some people have gone by the wayside. Companies
Mm.
have gone by the wayside for not exploring, or at least being curious about how technology can, in some way, shape, or form, add value to what they're doing and make
Mm,
things a lot easier.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so I hope that like this conversation is an encouragement for particularly SMEs, small to medium sized enterprises out there, and other professionals, like particularly consultants in the field, actually create this more effective communications. Because the thing that can be really dangerous is if the technology advances, which it does rapidly, and you as an organization, you as a leader, you're not embracing it, you're not developing your authentic conceptions of that, of these technologies, and it's really hard to keep up. It's extremely hard to keep up. But see, I see no other way. The, like that's why like not only the leaders should have try to keep up and have basic understanding of these new technologies, at least so that they can make effective decisions and talk to the experts, like have a mutual language with the experts. It's like, for example, you don't need to be an accountant to operate a business, but you need to know enough about accounting so that you can talk to your accountant and bookkeepers. So similarly, like you want to have a basic understanding of these technologies, so that then you can work with the right experts, and that this should be taken so seriously so that in talent acquisition and bringing new people in our teams, we actually take that quite seriously, because the 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 organizations that they ignore this, or they don't um, take it seriously enough, they're not going to be there in the next few years. Like, I know that some people may react severely to this, but the thing is, that's the reality we should face. If you fail to adopt, and then if you fail to take the advancements of technology so quite seriously, and then let that manifest itself into your strategy, in your in talent acquisition, in the future products and services that you're offering, you're doomed to go away. So, and we see that a lot. We see that on a, I mean, like weekly basis, within Genesis, for example, that there are businesses that they resist, or they're just like naive in a sense. They're completely not. They're being very sentimental and not realistic. in what these advancements in technologies can do to them. For example, let's say in publishing, so in the last couple of years, like there's massive level of tools and facilities and possibilities that has been being created. Let's say, for example, by Amazon, it's print on demand, and you know, so most of local businesses they cannot compete with that. No, this is a bigger problem than just like technology. There are concerns around these monopolies that are being created, and that's let's not go there. But at the end of the day, like these businesses should be able to shift their strategies effectively so that they can survive and grow. There is this book that when I was a teenager once I've read, Who Moved My Cheese? I don't know if you have, yeah, by Spencer Johnson. And so the story of these four different characters that they are stuck in this maze, and they um, they rely on cheese to survive, and each of these characters they have a very different approach towards uh, like finding cheese and like being satisfied or content, or actually strategizing and then going for to find other sources of it. And then that's actually quite relevant to what we're discussing. Like if you're rigid and if you're going to just like say this is my business, this is how I do it, and no matter what, and you're going to ignore what's going on in the world and not develop that situational awareness, and so you're not going to have a really good time as leaders and as teams. So yeah, so I hope that this is an encouragement for our audience, the ones that are not taking advancements of technologies quite seriously, um, to actually do it. The second thing that I want to re-emphasize, perhaps in this conversation, is I know that there are conversations around like developing ethical frameworks and debates and discussions around new technologies and how human beings can. But what I want to emphasize, as I've mentioned before, is the massive need for collaboration between exact sciences, technology, social sciences, and humanities. So if this is what I think from a philosophical perspective is the extremely important thing to actually um, take seriously and cause, because typically these different people from these fields that I've said, see for example, you barely see that the people with background in theology can go very well with like people coming from like a more modern social sciences. So the people coming from theology, they have certain understanding of ethics and commandments, let's call it. And then like when it comes to more modern social sciences like psychology and sociology, so there's not much collaboration going on there. Now then, if you want to combine like the exact sciences, like and so basically um, um, if you don't normally see that like people from these different fields they keep communicating with each other. There are some studies definitely, but they're not as much as what I would love to see from a philosophical perspective. I would love to see more and more collaboration and creation of a mutual language so that we can see these matters from multiple different perspectives. And I think that is what is needed the most in at the time that we're living in. Yeah. Any final say, Enrique, before we wrap this session up?
Yeah, it's for those that are in leadership positions. It Not all companies, right,
Mm,
use technology as we have described it. I was reminded of companies that are over 100 years old in Japan. They do
mm,
things very old style,
yeah,
but it is a niche. They
yeah,
have a specific thing they do, and that is all they do. And
yeah,
so, if you're in that type of business, maybe technology is not as threatening to your bottom line as it is to current in the open organization. So, as leaders, my suggestion is just be curious enough to find out the good in the current technologies to help you.
Mm. Thank you, Enrique. Before we wrap up, I forgot to mention that, like, as we were talking about this collaboration between different fields, and the need for us to make sense of whatever is going on. Particularly, we were discussing technology and new technologies. My next book, called Meta Content: The Intellectual Substrates for Sense Making, is soon to be released, and just wanted to let people know. Whoever is interested, obviously, highly recommend that if they are interested in sense making processes and um, um, developing that situational awareness and authentic conception development, I think that the book is going to bring tremendous amount of value to them. Yeah. Thank you for being with us. It was enjoyable conversation to me. I hope that our audience also have enjoyed it. See you, Enrique, and see you, everyone.